In this mobility series, we're going to go through elevated pigeons, corner air chair, and a Jefferson curl or elevated forward fold. We're going to be working for 3 minutes in each one of these positions. Let's get started. The elevated pigeon is like the pigeon that we know, except I'm going to be doing it on an elevated surface. Right now I've got this small box. This could be a bench, like a workout bench, or a coffee table, a couch, your bed, or even a countertop. So the elevated pigeon is anytime that we have our leg elevated on a surface higher than the ground. Very powerful way to get deep within our hip. So let's get started. We're going to be working for 3 minutes on one hip. The first thing, let's get our hip ready to rock and roll on the surface. As always, I want to be able to balance on this one hip. Okay, so I'm not just resting down here, but I'm pressurizing this hip, driving my outside knee, outside shin into the surface. I'm going to pull that hip back just a little bit, find the end range pressure here, feeling glutes and hamstrings. And then I'm going to make sure that my back knee is pointed in the same direction as the front knee. So now I have two kneecaps that are pointed out this way. I need to match my sternum by just opening my sternum just a little bit. And then my hands, I can do anything that helps support this mobility work for my hip. In all of this mobility work, we're not just hanging out here, but we're working. Ways that we can work, I can continue to drive and pressurize this hip, driving the outside knee, driving the outside shin, squeezing onto this hip. I can also try and lengthen from here, pulling this hip just a little bit up if that feels good. Other ways that I can work, I can be consciously breathing in through my nose into my hip crease and low back on the same side, trying to expand and create spaciousness. Is almost like an isometric hold more than it is a stretch, but it can be very powerful for opening up the body. Elevated pigeon. In all mobility work, highly encourage making small adjustments to the entire body as you pressurize. Holding still and static the entire body creates rigidity. We want to make the body feel that even in this end range here, I still have the ability to move and organize things. Lots of burning sensation. Again, we should have no pinching in the front of the hips. All work in the back side. 30 more seconds. This box is a little bit small. My favorite kind of elevated surface would be like that workout bench. I find that surface to be really helpful for my hips. Last 10 seconds, then we're going to switch to the other side. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to switch it up for a front view so we can see that set up. Let's go into our left side. Pulling the leg up on the box, making sure that both kneecaps are pointed in one direction and sternum pointed out. We talked about the work, pressurizing the outside shin, driving here as if I was to stand up completely off this leg. Other ways that we can pressurize, I can take this same side foot here and squeeze as if I was grabbing a pile of sand underneath my foot. That squeeze of my foot is going to help me squeeze harder my hip. Squeezing harder my hip and my foot is going to help me drive that whole entire leg into the surface. Pulling myself tall out of that hip, rotating my sternum. And constantly organizing. Small rocks are okay. And breathing big in through my nose into that hip crease. Got 2 more minutes. Feeling what it's like to push with the glutes, feeling what it's like to push with the hamstring. The entire back of my leg is pushing into the structure here. If you push too much and other things turn on, like your quads or hip flexors, ease off of it and then re-engage and slowly begin to push until you can have full control of the backside. Option to take the same side hand and pull it back here. Even put that hand on the same side hip. Hand can go on the rib cage too, pulling the rib cage back, making sure that everything isn't bleeding out to the front, but we're contained. Last minute. And if you are doing some crazy work and you are on a bench, oftentimes I will find my elbows on the ground here, just giving myself a little bit of downtime. Still pressurizing, still giving my body what it needs. Last 30 seconds. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and time. Really important that we slowly come out of this with some nice intention. And as with everything, after we just did 2 elevated pigeons, I'm going to find a place to rest. I'm going to ask myself, do I feel same, better, or worse after doing those things? Do I feel same, better, or worse? I feel more spaciousness in my hips, a little bit more access. I like it. I like what I got going on. Let's move on. Now we're going to go into the corner air chair. Corner air chair is a very powerful tool. In order for us to do the corner air chair, I have to have both knees that are able to go in this corner position, almost pointing at each other. If you don't have that ability, you're only going to be working a neutral air chair, which means that you're getting your feet straight, hips, knees, and feet all to be in a straight line if you don't have this ability just now. To start the corner air chair, we're going to have 1 foot distance away from the wall that we're working on. Hands are going to be on the wall. We're going to do a maximum calf raise. After we do a maximum calf raise, then we're going to pull our hips back until our butt touches the wall. Once our butt touches the wall, then we want to pressurize everything that we need to. I'm going to pressurize the outside lateral calves. I'm going to pressurize my glutes and my hamstrings by driving wide against the ground. Once I find that pressure, then our job for the next 3 minutes is to create really good shapes and lengthen. This is the time right here to either create corners, to either go into your corners if you have access to corners, or to just make sure everything is straight. In the beginning of our recode, making sure that we have feet straight, knees, and hips straight is extremely important and should be sought out for to own first before we do any kind of corner work. If you understand and have mastered lining everything up, getting your right and your left column to be straight, then we can begin to do corner work. Now, whether we're in the corner world or straight, we have another job to do, which is to lengthen. Lengthening means pulling our hips higher, almost trying to straighten my legs, but not letting go of any of the pressure. Not letting go of any of the pressure. So I want you to create maximum pressure right now. If that means that your heels have to be a little bit closer to the ground or even kissing the ground, that's okay. But let's create maximum pressure in our backside. Once you've created maximum pressure in that backside, now we're going to pull our hips up. And they might even pull up just a couple centimeters or even half an inch. As those hips pull up, your chest might come down just a little bit, but let's pull those hips up. You might start shaking in the backside. It's because we're lengthening as much as we can the back of our legs. Pull it higher, pull it higher. Once you've pulled it higher, hold there and pull your sternum up. Pull those hips high as you can. Continue getting everything in your good shapes that you want. Pull high, pull high, pull high. We've got 30 seconds left. Let's do one more big pressurization and pull. Pressurize, squeeze, drive out, pressurize the hips, and let's pull high, pull high. What this looks like from this side view. I'm here in the backside. I pressurize and I pull high as much as I can. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time. Nice 3-minute air chair, really lengthening things out. Now we're gonna move to an elevated forward fold. Also, some people call this a Jefferson curl, but the Jefferson curl really is when we're using weights and we're going up and down. Right now we're just prioritizing the pulling down. So having a nice 5 or 10 pound weight that helps you pull down could be something that you want to use for this. Having ourselves on an elevated surface also gives us room to reach. If you're nowhere near working on an elevated surface, you need to have some things to reach and grab onto if you're not comfortable with your hands in free space. A yoga block, a small table, anything like that. In order to begin this forward fold, the first thing that we're going to do is find a maximum hip hinge. So I'm going to pull my hips back, pull my hips back, pull my hips back, pull my hips back. Once I find my maximum hip hinge, I want you to pull those hips high just like we did. Once you find that space, then we're gonna reach from there. As I reach from the ground, I'm continuing to pull my hips up as my torso reaches for the ground. Already I can feel a lot of stretching sensation happening until I reach. In this position, the last thing that I want you to do is to completely relax your upper body. Relax the back of your head, relax your spine. That looks like this. Just because the back of your head and spine might be relaxed and pulling down, that doesn't mean that the back of our legs aren't working still. I'm trying to get my sternum to get a little bit closer to my knees. I'm trying to get my hips higher in the sky. I'm trying to get my shoulders closer to the ground. I'm trying to compress everything into one pancake here. I'm not just trying to reach, but I'm really trying to compress my entire body. Something that helps in this position is to breathe in through your nose, into your back of your rib cage, and then exhale everything out of your guts. This will create a little bit more space to reach. From this position, I can also look at my legs. I can see if my ankles are good, if my feet are collapsed, or if my knees need to be rotated in any certain way, if they're pointed out. I want everything to be straight or in corners here. We've got 40 more seconds. I'm still pressurizing, I'm still pulling, I'm still reaching and compressing. Okay, we've reached the end of our time. Getting out of this position is just as important as hanging out in it. My favorite way to get out is by zombie get up, just relaxing my upper body and slowly curling myself up. Another way to get out of this is just to go into a deep squat. Let me show you the zombie get up. I'm from my tailbone, I'm going to pull my tailbone, my head is going to remain relaxed, my arms relaxed. I'm going to pull up one vertebrae at a time. Until I'm standing. We just did quite a bit of mobility work. So now we check in. Do I feel same? Do I feel better? Do I feel worse? If you feel better, good. If you feel worse, one of those or something you're doing wasn't right. In all of these things, we should have only green lights, no red lights, and you should feel better. This is your mobility.